Okay, hi folks. Welcome to the shop. Welcome to the floor of my reorganized garage. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Look at that. I hung that shelf. I built that shelf. I hung it. Only screwed up once with the measurements. Measure twice, cut once. Still don't fully understand why I completely miscalculated, but end up with like a super. So I won't even show you that. I screwed up here. I will show you those screwdrivers that we'll be talking about later. So I want to talk about, several things. So let's start out with Picquic screwdrivers. So these are Piquic screwdrivers. This one, they're both interchangeable bits. They store 3-inch bits over here. This one, it stores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bits, 7. This is called the hex caliper metric. Hex caliper, there's and it stores hex bits. They're just 3-inch, they're quarter-inch drive bits. They are impact ready. We'll talk about that a little more. We'll talk about my impact driver. And this one is the Super 8, so this has 8 tools in one. So it's got, let's see what it had by default. I replaced one of them, which is kind of the purpose. And I reviewed I'm pretty sure I reviewed both of these before. I'll probably link to that. Come on. Oh, they don't list on there. So let's just see if we can zoom in. So we've got a P2, a P3, I think 2 flatheads. That is a T10, a Robertson drive. Yeah, a P1, P2, P3 for sure. At least 1 or 2 flatheads. 2 flatheads. And this one is a regressed and in there. And the other thing that makes it so there's 6 tools over there plus 7. Plus this thing is both a 1/4-inch and a 5/16 inch impact driver. And basically, I'm sorry, bit driver. And basically, yeah, a lot of like small sheet metal screws that are like socket cap screws tend to be in that 5/16 variety. Number 10, I have some number 10 screws there, but they tend to like make them that as opposed to like what they really should be, or there's just, I guess, a lot of number 10 screws. Or I don't know if that's anyway. It's a really common bit driver piece over here. Okay, so I want to talk about impact versus drills, and then we'll get back to these because basically, how have these been holding up? Relatively well. I will say that one of these, I believe it's the P2. I'm just gonna go. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, the P2 over here, you can't really see. It's a little messed up. It's a little messed up here. A little worn out. These are soft, and they're soft because they're impact. So they say they're impact rated, and what does that mean? They're made for impact drivers. What does that mean? This is a drill with a standard, well, a modern, so I guess they're standard now, with a kilo, a 3-jaw chuck, and basically it's a 1/2-inch chuck, so it can hold up to a round or slided object up to 1/2 inch thick, down to pretty small. I don't know how small. Pardon my hairy legs and my cargo pants. And you can put your different size drill bits in there. Tighten the around, and once it tightens, it'll, whatever tightens around will hold, right? This happens to be an old school cast iron base drill saw that's probably like as old as like if your dad or grandfather had a aluminum body case like drill that probably didn't even have a reverse function, and he needed to do an hole saw. He probably had this stainless steel type of thing, which I mean, the replacement saws are probably pretty cheap to make, than current hole saws, because they're just this round thing. I don't know why they made them so heavy back in the day. I don't know. I probably just because it was just cheaper to make. Like this is probably cast iron. It's or cast steel or something. Cast steel. Yeah, sure. Cast iron would shatter. Over there. Anyway, so that's how a drill works. Now this impact driver. Okay, over here. Has a 1/4-inch chuck, which you'd put in like normal screwdriver bits, okay? And the way an impact driver works. Am I crazy enough to do this? So we're gonna put this in. So this is a double-sided T10, so it's a T10 on both sides. Why would you want that? Because sometimes they break. And they break often in impacts. And you want them to bend, not shatter. So, the drill, and that happens to be a screw that happens to fit in it. And it's already tight. And basically, normally, you push the button, there's a motor, it trims. And then this is going to kind of remind me of, here, go to the, act like this thing at the auto shop. Oh, and I took it out. Well, no. Yeah. We have a mistake. This is hard to do one-handed. So, that was not supposed to happen. Welcome to a live review, but I don't edit. I should edit. Oh. There we go. So anyway. See that noise it made when it clicked in? So basically there's a little hammer in there. As soon as this thing slows down, because you know the drill, because the screw or whatever, like, got, you know, it's not moving. As soon as that motor slows down, I think there's a little clutch in there that lets it slow down. There's another part with a little hammer hitting it sideways. So that it's how many, and it has a beats per minute rating here of 20,000 beats per 0 to 2,000 beats per minute. So basically, and that sideways hitting action puts more torque, and it's really good with screws. Like, it's actually really good, and it's good for sockets. So basically, this is very similar to, this is an impact driver, but you get a bigger one with like a square wrench, either a 3/8 or 1/2 inch drive, and you can use a socket on it. And basically, I can get an adapter. This is an adapter I can put in there, and I can pop that on. And then this 1/2 inch drive. There we go. There we go. 1/2 inch drive over here. And this is a 27 millimeter, which is almost exactly the same as 1 1/16 drive, which is on your hot water heater whenever it changes. It's called the sacrificial anode node. And you could use this to pop it off. One day I'm going to try to do that. And basically it's just always on, super tight, and I don't quite know why. But to tie all this back to my Picquic drivers. So Picquics are, they're just kind of cool drivers that are made in Canada, in like Vancouver-ish, like on the left coast of Canada. And I bought the Hex Caliber. I went to Toronto on a business trip. I'm a programmer. I don't do tools or anything for a living. But I went to a Canadian Tire, like Chris, in Toronto, in downtown Toronto, because the Canadian astronaut commander Chris Hayfield wrote a song about how awesome and how manly this is, and it was mostly housewares and stuff. Which, not to say housewares aren't manly, but I guess maybe because it's the inner city one, like that was like the stuff that was, I mean, you know, because it's the more downtown one, that was the one in the showcase. I'm sure if I go to like the one in like Halifax or just, you know, in more of like a Scarborough, you know, Toronto, you know, Ontario, you know, they would have the lumber and tools right out front as opposed to having to go all the way in the back for them. I bought that, and then I'm like, oh, let me buy the original, like the 8, and they're I use them a lot. They're my more favorite screwdrivers. Usually I'll go for like a fixed head if I'm just pulling something I happen to be down here, but I like them. You know, but they are very, now these bits are impact grade, and the reason they're impact grade and not like hard like this chrome one is because that hammering, that puts a lot of pressure on the tool, and most tools, like most things that aren't impact grade, they're hardened, and they'll break before they bend. But impact grade stuff has to be soft. They're made of stronger metals, but they're designed that they bend, they don't break, and you can never use You never want to use an impact thing on a torque wrench because that will actually have some spring in it. So when you bend it, it will affect the reading of the torque wrench if you're trying to tighten something to a specific torque. But you never want to use, but more importantly, you never, from a safety point of view, well, at the safety, because if something needs to be torqued with a torque wrench, you want to make sure it's torqued to the right, whatever. But if I were to put this on and do a socket with this, I could shatter this socket, especially a cheap like Husky socket. A snap-on one might, probably would like last longer, but still the problem is not when. It's not a matter of will this fail or not. It will fail, right? And it's the mode of failure. It will break and and hard pieces will snap off. Okay, so I had this. These are impact ready bits. I had one of these is a T10, a Torx 10 driver, which is what those things are. The star drive like this. Anyway, focus, please, focus you. Yeah. Okay. And I had one of those, and I put in the impact driver, and it broke the piece, and it's very soft. So what I will say, these are definitely impact ready, in that they're they work with impact drivers. I would not put them in a super powerful impact driver like that doesn't have a speed setting, because it broke off. So be careful. And I did that in the beginning of quarantine, and I'm like, okay, I better go like order, because I don't know like if civilization's gonna end. Because I had a bunch of these, I had a bunch of those Torx drive screws, and like I had like only one other thing, some wear bit that I don't think are impact ready. I was afraid of like not being able to turn those screws basically, and being stuck here alone. When I was in a very DIY-ish kind of mood, and that would have kind of sucked and been terrible. And zombies would have come and killed us because I couldn't I don't know, hang shelves or build a shelf here or something. I don't know. I didn't fully think that one out. So I bought these Bosches. I forgot how much I paid. They came a 3-pack of these. I have one here. I have one in my basement. Yeah, I have them. I basically, this is 2.5 inches long. Those bits are 3 inches long. So I have one of them inside this driver. It fits in the driver okay. One of these I keep in this set of impact bits that I bought before I got this impact driver. And, these seem to be a little more sturdy. But anyway, onto the impact driver. So I paid $30 for this impact driver used at a pawn shop in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where my client is. It was, one of these. And it came with the little battery. Came with one of the, like, battery kit batteries. Which is like usually like the starter kit battery that come with the smaller DeWalt tools. This one happened to come with my leaf blower, which thank you, Pat Fellon, for telling me how I could use my leaf blower to do dryer maintenance. But anyway, this is like the original generation. It doesn't have a light on it and the trigger at all. And it normally they have like 3 speeds on this, which you can use to slow down, and 3 actually torque settings. 1, 2, 3 torque settings. It's not just speed, because like on a drill here, when I set this to the speed 1, it's higher torque. This is actually limiting the torque, just limiting the power of the tool, not the speed of the tool. Because of that, when I use this, when I use those impact bits, they basically they broke relatively quickly, and I had to buy the Bosch tool. So anyway, I highly recommend the DeWalt Impact. If you're gonna, they don't make this one anymore. It's fine to use this. I've used this, and this puts out 125 foot-pounds of torque, and you're supposed to tighten your tires to like normally like 80 to 85 pounds of torque. And just for fun, I have a have a 1/2-inch metric sockets, and I put the 21-inch, which is what and what my Hyundai Elantra was, and I was able to take off one of the sockets first try. So you're supposed to use like a bigger impact wrench would do that, but and most of the time, like when you're changing a tire by the side of the road, like your lug nuts get rusty or whatever, they get just because you put them on to 85 pounds, even, and usually a lot of times the guy at the tire shop just goes ugh dug ugh dug, doesn't use any kind of limiter on it. But anyway, if you take this but anyway, I would it's a now I know if I have to change like a tire at home or whatever. I happen to have this in my car when at time I change my tire. I can do this, and I'll probably get like some of the lug nuts off, and that'll save me time, which is a cool thing to have. But anyway, this has been super, kind of useful. I'm actually a believer in like the way it puts screws in like really fast, compared to like putting a you know a 1/4 inch adapter on the on my drill. Like yeah, it's just I don't know. It's you got to experience it. I don't know. It's really a weird true believer thing here. But anyway, I highly recommend. I believe the new one. I believe the super new model of these like have like Bluetooth where you can actually change this torque settings of the 3 settings. And I've seen. I know Milwaukee has a thing that does that, but this I believe definitely does too. And but anyway, I would recommend if you're gonna in the market for like if you're just moving to house, if you have no tools or you're just upgrading, get a drill driver set. I highly recommend the DeWalt ones. I highly recommend like get the newer version of this. But if you can get this one used. I was able to drive in like little screws, and I've gotten pretty good, and I'm pretty. I was able to just once you feather the trigger, it has an adjustable trigger, so when you put it light, it'll be low speed and low torque, and you just once you hear that first ug dug, you put it in. And I drilled. So I drilled with cheap screws, like 1/2 inch number 8 screws, the bottom of that bench. I put 20 of them in. I did before I did that. I did use pilot holes and countersunk them. They're flathead screws, and I did that old school style because basically I'm stuck here in quarantine, and I don't want to sit there and make unnecessary purchases unnecessarily. So I happen to have a bunch of regular screws, so I didn't want to use those are self drilling torque bits that you don't need to. They're self drilling and self counter sinking. They've got little like ribs, ribbed for the wood's pleasure, on there. But anyway, so basically, yeah, I guess my summary of this whole review is, definitely get yourself an impact driver, get yourself impact bits. The Picquic screwdrivers, I do recommend them, but I do not recommend using the bits in an impact driver, in that they are kind of soft. They're not super long lasting in that regard, but the quality of the tools are great. Otherwise, I mean, as far as torquing down on them, I do often use, so this is I believe 7/16 inch, hex thing over here. So I do put a wrench around this and like really torque down on it. And that's worked really well. Not so much for, the hex stuff. I just haven't had, Allen, hex, like those are Allen key, like hex, internal hex screws on there. But this one, yeah, whatever. I've used Phillips heads, they've been stuck. So I just push down really hard and put a wrench on that end and turn them, and it works great. Anyway, so I'm going to edit this, hopefully, and then put some links up in here. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good day.